Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Thursdays wherever across this great nation or this great world you may find yourselves today. It is another weekend of football. It is here. Rejoice, boys and girls. We finally get to embrace all of the greatness and goodness of college football in the NFL again. I will give you some gambling picks as we roll into the weekend. We got a lot to get to. My name is Clay Travis, and this is Outkick the Show. I'd encourage all of you to go to sportsbookreview.com right now. If you haven't already been, sportsbookreview.com. Get the best line tonight on Panthers going up against the Steelers. Get the best line on... What is it? Wake is playing against, who is Wake playing against? NC State. I'm betting on both of those games. I will give you some picks here momentarily. We have got a lot to get to. But before I get to all of that, I have to tell you, my guy Ryan Kelly across this nation. If you need a mortgage or you have credit card debt or student loan debt or some debt that you need to get wiped out and you own a home, you need to go to thehomeloanexpert.com. That's thehomeloanexpert.com. Tell them Clay Travis and Outkick sent you, and let my guy Ryan Kelly take care of you. All right, I'm going to give you my gambling picks right off the jump here because I said I was going to give you my gambling hits yesterday, and then I forgot to do it. So let me go ahead and give you all of my gambling picks right off the top here. First of all, tonight's games, I'm going to break these down a little bit more, especially the Panthers and the Steelers. I'm on the over tonight in Panthers-Steelers. I think right now it's at 51. I think we're going to see a lot of points. I think Cam against Big Ben, get ready for points. Love it. Go jump on it. Get the over in Thursday Night Football tonight. I actually think this is the best game of the NFL weekend. Okay, I'm also on the over tonight in Wake Forest going up against NC State. I think points are going to be scored, a ton of them. So I'm on both the overs tonight. Lots of fun. We're having a points party on Thursday night. All right, here are my picks for the weekend. Got to tell you right off the jump here, I am on a roll with the gambling picks. You guys know I hate to brag. I hate to draw attention to myself. I'm not the kind of guy to wave and say, hey, look over here at me. But I am on fire right now with the gambling picks. Gambling picks are at 57% winners. If you count the other picks that I've given out on the television the last couple of days, early MAC games, everything else, we're right at 60% on the year. There has been a lot of money to be made. I hope all of you have enjoyed and jumped on the ride for all the Outkick gambling picks. Hashtag respect the picks, hashtag DBAP, hashtag shooter shoot. All right, here we go. Tonight, starting Friday night, I love this game. Louisville, Syracuse. I like Syracuse to win by 3 touchdowns. I also like the over in this game. Syracuse minus 21-ish, and also the over. That is a Friday night special, starting with the Outkick picks, which I am reading right now from my phone. Ole Miss, Texas A&M. I'm stunned by this line. I've already bet it on Lock It In. I bet all the picks that I tell you to play. I am stunned that the number right now is 67. I think what's going to happen in this game is pretty straightforward. I think A&M does not have a great offense, and they have a pretty good defense. I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw in the Auburn-Ole Miss game that ended in a 31-16 score. I'm a little bit nervous about A&M as a 12-point favorite, especially in what I think is going to be a low-scoring game. But I think the number right here being 67 is insanity. I think it should be a touchdown lower. I think by kickoff it should be 60. If it's not, then you're getting a huge advantage if it stays right around 67. Kentucky at Tennessee. This line has actually worked against me so far. It got all the way up to 6. I think this line is crazy. I think Kentucky being a 6-point favorite over Tennessee is just absolute insanity. Couple of stats for you. Kentucky has not beaten Tennessee by more than 3 points in a football game since 1984. Kentucky has not beaten Tennessee by more than a touchdown since 1981. Most of you were not alive when either of those things happened who are watching and listening to this show right now. So what makes you think that Kentucky is suddenly going to go on the road and dominate against Tennessee in a way they haven't in nearly 2 generations. I think Jeremy Pruitt's defense is going to come ready to play. I like the under here. I like the fact that Tennessee has no pressure on them. I like the fact that Kentucky is coming off a game that basically punctured all of their season goals. I like Tennessee here. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if Tennessee wins outright. I love them +6. I love them +4. I love them anything above a field goal. And I also like the under. Okay, Auburn going on the road against Georgia. I think this game opened at 14.5. I immediately put it out to the VIPs. I said that's too many points. It's way too many points to make Auburn a favorite over Georgia by. Georgia a favorite over Auburn by. I think this game's going to be low scoring. I think Georgia might win by 7 to 10 points. I don't think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. I like Auburn in this game, definitely. Mississippi State at Bama. This line has actually bounced from Alabama -26 all the way down to Alabama -23.5. I love this game, okay? As it gets closer and closer to kick, I don't see how Mississippi State's going to score. Mississippi State has been on the road twice in the SEC so far this year. They scored 7 against Kentucky, and they scored 3 against LSU. What makes you think they're going to score any way more than 10 points? Nothing that I have seen suggests that they are going to score more than 10 points on Alabama. Meanwhile, with this line ticking all the way down to 23.5, right now, you are basically asking yourself, do you think Alabama is going to score 35? My answer is yes. I do think Alabama is going to score 35. If so, 35 minus 10 is 25. Boom. That covers pretty easily the 23.5 point line. I love the way this line's moving. Sometimes people say, do you get more nervous when lines move against you? Or do you react in a positive way if lines move in your direction? I really don't react in a negative way if the line moves against me. If I like a number and then somebody out there is betting it the opposite way than the way I bet it, I go back in and I bet more. Now, I understand some people get nervous doing that, but I do the same thing in the stock market. I buy and hold stocks for the long term. If I look at it and like the value, the fact that somebody else thinks I'm wrong doesn't run me off of my position. Now, if suddenly you find out that a player's not playing or there's a tangible reason why the number is changing, that's different. For instance, if you loved Notre Dame and Ian Book is out, and suddenly you now have to deal with Brandon Wimbush as your quarterback, and you aren't as confident in him as quarterback, then just because the line moves against you, I wouldn't bet more money. But when it's a simple question of you bet it, and then nothing has changed in the dynamic except some people who have different opinions than you are coming in and driving the number up, I love it. Like when I see that Tennessee game going up to 6, I absolutely love everything about it, okay? I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's an easy play. When I see a number move against me, I really like it. Vanderbilt at Missouri. This one has moved a lot. I gave you out my blood bank guarantee early. We've been on an absolute roll all across the board. This line came out at 59.5. I gave it to you. Somebody can tell me whether or not I'm correct in this. I think the line is now up to 63.5 on this game. So we've had a 4-point move in our direction already just in the past several days. I really like Missouri here to score a lot of points. I also think Vanderbilt will score. I think this line will easily go over. I think Missouri might well score 50 on Vanderbilt. I think they'll definitely score 40. I have zero doubt at all. I'm going to have to block this guy. I'm going to have to block this guy because I've looked over and he's like, oh, Kentucky did this. Kentucky did that. Dude, Kentucky's not very good. All right? Saying things that everybody already knows is not in any way going to make me need to have your comments here. Okay? That is not in any way going to change my perspective. If you are saying something that everybody knows that is stupid and you continue to say it over and over and over again, and I happen to look over and see it, boom, you're blocked. You're not allowed to comment on the show anymore. I'm sorry. You just don't get to come and hang out anymore. You're too dumb, Kentucky guy. I'm sorry. Your intelligence level is too low to be allowed to comment. You got to say a bunch of stupid stuff. I happen to look over, recognize it. You're gone. All right? You're not allowed to do it at all. But I love this. I also think 17 is too many. This number ticked out to 17, Missouri being favored. I think Missouri wins by double digits. I think 17 is too many. I took Vanderbilt plus 14.5, and I like the over. Here we go with Purdue. I think Purdue is one of the great unseen teams out here that people are not paying a lot of attention to. They are on fire right now offensively. They're going up against Minnesota. Minnesota just gave up 55 to Illinois and 53 to Nebraska. Jeff Brom is coming to town, and he's bringing hell with him in the name of 50 points. I love Purdue here in a big way. South Carolina at Florida. The Gamecocks, I got them at 7. The line's down to 6. Too much. Florida shouldn't be favored that much. I don't believe in Felipe Franks. I don't believe in the new guy who's supposed to be superb, who's injured for Florida. I'm not a believer in the Florida Gator offense right now. I think they've been exposed the past 2 weeks. I think that continues. We know Muschamp has a lot of incentive to play well against Florida. Loves to win this game, particularly in the swamp more than any other. I think that play is beyond a shadow of a doubt on Purdue, and also, a minute ago, like I said, on South Carolina. Ohio State at Michigan State. I think the wrong team's favored here. I think the wrong team is favored in this game right now. I think Ohio State is going to lose outright to Michigan State. Okay? Outright loss for Ohio State against Michigan State. I also like the under in this game. Michigan State's got the best run defense in college football. Ohio State can't run at all. That means they're going to drop back and try to throw it all game with Dwayne Haskins. I don't believe they'll be very successful. Dwayne Haskins has gotten progressively worse as the run game has declined as well. I think this is an easy play. I love Michigan State here. Ohio State 0-5 in its last 5. I think Michigan State wins outright. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. Gave it out to you at 76. I think it's up to 78. Points, and more points. There we are. It's going to happen. It's going to be the case. 14 winners for you. 57%. Don't complain. Don't bitch. Don't moan. Just go out and play the best numbers that you can and jump on all of my picks that I just gave you. All right, tonight, Panthers Steelers. I think it's the best game in the NFL this week. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I already told you I was on the over tonight. I think it is going to be outstanding. I encourage all of you to make sure that you're not missing tonight's game. Thursday Night Football. Through 8 weeks, Cam Newton is on pace. I love on pace guy, but Cam Newton is on pace to have his best season since the MVP season in 2015. And so I think the Steelers are going to come out and score points, but I also think the Panthers are going to come out and score points. I think both of these teams will score 28. I think we're going to go well over. That would get us easily over there. Somebody wins this game, something like 31-28. The line is ticked all the way down to right around 3.5. I believe that the Steelers are favored. I think the Panthers are going to play well. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they win this game, but I cannot wait until that happens. Also, this is a big deal and a big story. The SEC. I don't know if you heard. The show this morning, but SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey came on to talk about a lot of different issues. I'd encourage you to go download the podcast if you get a chance. Then about an hour after that interview, they dropped news that is very significant. The SEC has retained CAA, the big agency, Hollywood talent agency. Full disclosure, they rep me too, okay? They rep everybody, though. They have retained CAA to market their CBS Game of the Week. Effectively, that's what they have to sell in the next couple of years and figure out who's going to buy it. Now, I wrote about this, and I hope you read it if you like sports media and business, about what a steal CBS has and about how CBS, in my opinion, has done a poor job of realizing the value that they have there and being a good partner. CBS is paying $55 million a year for the SEC Game of the Week and for the championship game, the SEC title game. Now, I asked you that question the other day when I talked about this, but I always enjoy seeing the responses on Facebook and Periscope Live. If you guys knew that the Rose Bowl sells for $80 million a year standing alone, would you rather have the SEC title game or the Rose Bowl? SEC title game or the Rose Bowl? Which would you rather have? CBS's SEC title game right now sells for $25 million less than the Rose Bowl does by itself. And that doesn't even include the first-round draft pick across the board. Most of you are smart business people, and you are looking at this and you're saying the SEC title game is a no-brainer. You would much rather have that. That is indeed a de facto playoff game. And a playoff game right now costs about $200 million each. Okay? So you right now, CBS does, gets 14 SEC games of the week, including a couple of doubleheaders. They get a Friday game. They get a Saturday game during Thanksgiving, all of those things. And they get the SEC title game, which is crazy. And they get it for $55 million. Well, that deal is up in 4 years. CBS probably not going to be able to afford to re-up with the SEC. And so the CAA deal is designed to figure out how do we get top value. Fox will be bidding. NBC will be bidding. CBS will probably still bid, although it's unlikely they'll get it. ESPN will be bidding. That new John Skipper streaming service that just got all the Canelo fights, DAZN, however you pronounce it, DAZN, will be bidding. Maybe Amazon. Maybe Apple. Maybe, who knows, Google. Maybe Facebook. It's unclear what the tech market will look like and whether any of those companies will have jumped in. It's also unclear exactly how that property will be sold. Maybe they will sell the SEC championship game as a separate part now of the whole, or maybe they'll roll it all together. I think this package, if you take it out to market right now and you look at the overall value, maybe Netflix, although it's unlikely, and you look at the overall value, I think there's a pretty good chance that right now that property is worth $200 or $250 million. If that ends up happening, there is so much money to be made. An insane amount of money to be made off of this property, which is, I think, the most undervalued in all of sports right now. And so the decision to retain CAA to advise is about getting ready to take this out to market and figure out who is going to be the purchaser of this property going forward. So this is going to be a major play to figure out exactly what the value is going to be and how all of that will shake out. But this is a monumental moment. If you were setting out who's likely to get the SEC game of the week, I don't think that it's going to be ESPN, because I don't think that the SEC wants to go all in with ESPN, and ESPN has every other right. I think NBC will kick the tires over putting a pair together with the Notre Dame games. I think Fox is the favorite. I think Fox on Big Fox would like to take the game of the week from the SEC, put it on with their Big 10, their Big 12, their Pac-12 games already, and build around that game. So I think if I were making a favorite right now, I would make Fox the favorite. But there's lots of moving parts in this game to figure out exactly where it should go. I think the chances of CBS retaining it are incredibly low. I'll just say that. I think the chances of CBS retaining this game are incredibly low. And so this, if you like sports media and business, this is a story that definitely should be followed. There are 4 years left on the CBS deal, but things get sold a couple of years out. So we're talking in the next 18 to 24 months, I think. There's also the possibility, and I think this is important to keep in mind, there's also the possibility that that the SEC could work out a new deal with a new partner. And if they did it, then maybe that deal could end for CBS early and it could start somewhere else new. So I think that it's a story that certainly is worth following, and it's a big deal. I've talked about it. I've written about it. And again, the moving parts happening here, if you're reading the tea leaves and paying attention, it was a big announcement today that CAA was being retained. Okay, finally, the LA shooting. I would say this, and I tweeted this out earlier. I believe there is no doubt that we have a major issue with mass shootings in this country. And I feel it's awful, no matter where it's happening, no matter what the rationale is for a crazy person to decide to take aim at everybody else. But I think the way the media covers these events makes them more likely to occur. If you go back and go through all of the history here, what we see happen over and over and over again is these guys are insane, but they are driven very often by fame. And I keep having to say this, and I hope I'm influencing people a little bit in what I have done going forward. We have to stop making these mass shooters famous. We have to stop putting up everything about their life. We have to stop putting them on the front page of newspapers. We have to stop giving them very often what they want, which is fame, even if it's brought about in an infamous fashion. I don't know why we can't have an intelligent conversation, and I'm not going to get into the complexity of the constitutional amendments and how to reconcile the Second Amendment and all of those things. I'm not even trying to have that fight right now. I am saying, cannot every reasonable person acknowledge that we are having a negative impact when we do something like this? Let me give you 2 examples, one of which is not very serious at all. On television, we stopped showing people who run onto the field at sporting events. Do you know why they did that? Because they realized that being put on television was one of the number one reasons that people climbed onto the field and ran onto the field during games. So during every nationally televised sporting event or regionally televised or televised at all event, if someone runs on the field, they turn the cameras away and they don't give them the attention. And as a result, the number of people who run onto the playing surface has continued to decline over the years. If they showed them on television and made them famous for doing it, it would become a bigger issue and it would be harder to stop. So everybody reasonably said, let's address the psychology here. We don't know all of the reasons why someone climbs on the field, but a huge part of it is that they want to be on television and they want to get a little bit of fame. If we take that incentive away, then that vanishes, okay? We do that. We also have recognized that in cases of sexual assault, naming the victim makes victims less likely to come forward, so we have rape shield laws designed to ensure that sexual assault crimes are prosecuted and the alleged victim does not become uncomfortable about having to become publicized as being a victim of a crime like this. That seems to have worked as well to incentivize people to be willing to come forward and share their stories when they are the victims of crimes. If we have managed to do both of those things as both a society and a nation, why can we not do the same for mass shooting when the evidence that is out there that is very clear is that all of these guys, and they're almost always guys, all of them are out there to do this to try to draw attention to themselves and live up to the examples set by others. We did not have mass shootings like this prior to really the 1990s. And then as media rose and we had all this national media coverage, mass shooting became almost a viral phenomenon. It's interesting, if you look at the trajectory, our national murder rate has collapsed over the last 30 or 40 years. I understand we live in a culture of fear. The number of murders has precipitously declined across the entire nation. Yet the number of mass shootings has been climbing. Why are those things moving in opposite directions? Why are there many fewer murders while same time being many more mass shootings? I don't claim to be an expert on that, but it would seem that if violence was increasing, it would increase across the board. I think what has happened is the number of shootings overall has declined substantially, but the incentive for a mass shooter to become famous has continued to grow. And people always want to hop on here and say, look at these numbers. No. Statistically, 2018 is infinitely safer than 1988. It's infinitely safer than 1998. 2018 is infinitely safer than 2008. Doesn't mean that individual cities cannot have issues. And I've come after this. I've talked about it. I think one reason that violence increased was because we got focused on trying to, some people did, argue that police were the problem. Police never have been the problem when it comes to violence in this country. They protect far more. So the truth of the matter is this. Over the last 50 years, violence has declined precipitously. What has not is mass shootings. And so why are these two things in conflict with each other? I don't know the easy answer. Now, if you want to talk about violence blipping up for the past couple of years, it has. And I've said I think that's because people protesting police violence have actually led to more murders. I think the data supports that regularly. Baltimore, Chicago, cities where there have been protests against police, murders have become more commonplace. I don't think that's coincidental. I think that's because the police have been run off from protecting people. Are police perfect? No. Do they make mistakes? Yes. But when we labeled police as killers, as many people did on social media and as many politicians did, you created an awful situation where police were not able to protect poor people. All right? This is the truth. And look, don't make this a race thing. I think it's insanely dumb to make this a race thing. Statistically, there are many more white men than there are anybody else in America today. If you are truly want to look at murder rates, the black male murder rate is infinitely higher than any other race or ethnic group in this country. Black men make up 6% of the nation's population. They commit over half of all murders. All right? From a purely proportional perspective, if you look at the data, black men are 6% of the United States population. They commit over half of all murders. All right? Making this about race is not in any way helpful. Okay? Murder is wrong, regardless of who propagates it. I think we should be doing anything we can to make it less likely. Okay? That is my goal. That's why I think it doesn't make sense to share all of these psychopaths when they behave in this fashion. So I would say, do what I do. Don't share information about this individual. Don't make him famous. Take his name off of televisions. Take it out of newspapers and everything else. I love all of you. I'm about to be on Lock It In to give you more gambling picks. Have some fun with Todd Furman, Rachel Bonetta, and my friend, Cousin Sal. All of that. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Kisses to all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been Outkick the Show.